In today's Leeds news, Strand Larsen links Facundo Buonanotte to Leeds United. Leeds offered Anthem Dovbyk. Ngenge signs Leeds United deal. Charlie Cresswell sell on. And the current transfer rumours roundup on Jack Harrison and Danilo Doekhi. Hiya folks, welcome back to the Leeds View for Thursday the 15th of January with your Leeds United news. Hope your week is going well so far. Daniel Farke will sit down with the media at 1:30 today to do his press conference ahead of the Fulham game. We will have a reaction to that over on bigup.com, and also there is the game over there if you want to try and win some cash or some prizes. You can get involved in this. It's a predictions game. Link will be down below in the description. You click on that, pick what you think will happen during the game, and you're in with a chance to win some prizes. We will also have a podcast out later on tonight to have a much more detailed dig into what Leeds will face this weekend against Fulham. On a good run of form, an important game for Leeds United at Elland Road. But there is a lot of news floating around this morning. A lot of stuff came out last night that was tough to find actually any detail on, but some detail that's come out today, and most of today's stories, or pretty much all of today's stories, are based around transfer links between Leeds and other clubs right now, so we'll get stuck into that and we'll start off with Strand Larsen. Last night, bookies odds on Leeds United signing Wolverhampton Wanderers striker Strand Larsen dropped from 33 to 1 to 2 to 1, but as far as I could see, and from digging around and looking for any kind of rumours, any kind of links, any kind of stories around Leeds United and Strand Larsen, there was nothing, literally nothing to be found anywhere. But on paper, if you think about it, Strand Larsen ticks an awful lot of the boxes that Leeds United would be looking for. Leeds want a striker or an attacker who can come in and hit the ground running this season. Strand Larsen has experience in the Premier League. He's 25 years of age. He's 6'3" in height, and he would be another alternative to DCL and Lucas Mecha. So from that perspective, it looks like exactly what Leeds would want from a striker. Strand Larsen this season hasn't been on fire. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in the Premier League. He's got 6 goals in total this year, but Wolves have been incredibly poor this season, haven't created a huge amount of chances. Last season he scored 14 times and added 4 assists in the Premier League, so 18 GNA for a side who at that point last year were still pretty poor and down around the wrong end of the table. Isn't anything to be sniffed at. The only publication that have put anything out around Strand Larsen as of time of recording was Team Talk. They said they were going to go digging and have a little bit of look into this and see if they could find out some stuff, and apparently they now claim that they have. However, it is Team Talk, and I say the same thing all the time. Take this with a pinch of salt. According to Team Talk, they say that Leeds United and other clubs have been offered a chance to sign Wolverhampton Wanderers striker Strand Larsen, and a move to Leeds wouldn't be that straightforward. Graham Bailey says that intermediaries between the clubs have all spoken to try and see if a deal can be worked out this month, and according to Bailey, higher-ups at Molineux will let Strand Larsen move away from the club in January. He's one of their bigger assets, a player they could bring in some money for. They might be already planning for life in the Championship, but clubs that have been credited with some level of interest or have been offered Strand Larsen at this point are Newcastle United, Tottenham Hotspur, Everton, Nottingham Forest and West Ham United. As of yesterday, a lot of the reports that were floating around about this all came from Nottingham Forest, with suggestions that they were the front runners and favourites to sign Strand Larsen. He was a player that Sean Dyche liked. He's very much a Sean Dyche type of player. But Newcastle also have significant interest in him. They tried to sign him in the summer. They couldn't get him done. They went for Voltemata instead. But they are credited as having interest in him right now as well. Graham Bailey says that Leeds haven't spoken to Wolverhampton Wanderers just yet, or the players' representatives. The conversations are all wrapped around intermediaries at this point, but he does say the Leeds are looking for a similar profile of striker to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Lucas Mecha, which is reports we've heard throughout the January transfer window so far. Anyway, however, he does go on to say that at this stage, Leeds haven't given the green light to try and make a move for the striker, and they haven't spoken to his representatives and haven't spoken to Wolves just yet. Strand Larsen is not the only striker that apparently Leeds have been offered, but from a Leeds perspective, some people will look at his track record this season and say no thank you very much. Personally, he's a very good striker. He's a good age. There's a lot of positive stuff about him. In fact, Newcastle United were really trying to sign him in the summer. Wolves are a dumpster fire right now, so I wouldn't hold that against him, but he would be an excellent signing for Leeds. But a bit more detail on the final bits of that when we give you the other striker that Leeds United have been offered according to reports in Italy. He's currently out injured right now. and has had pretty much an injury hit start to his season. But Artem Dovbyk is the other striker that apparently Leeds United have been offered. But unlike Larsen, he would take time to adjust to the Premier League, and the fact that he's out injured right now means he wouldn't be available for Leeds and wouldn't hit the ground running, which is the wording from the club. However, since Roma have signed Donnell Malen from Aston Villa and Robinho Vaz from Marseille, apparently according to Graham Bailey, he says the Rumours have offered Leeds United the chance to sign Artem Dovbyk, who they did want to bring in during the summer months. Bailey says that Joe Piroux will also be allowed to leave Leeds this month, and they want a replacement of either a better quality or a player who fits more Leeds United's style. A move for Dovbyk at this point seems incredibly unlikely, given the fact that he is out injured. His season has been injury hit constantly, and again, Leeds want someone who can come in and make an impact right now. Artem Dovbyk, when he was at Girona, was a phenomenal striker. He's a very good striker. He ticks an awful lot of boxes for Leeds. It's a real shame that he's had injury problems this year, because when he was coming from Girona, if that was an option then, you'd absolutely have bitten their hand off to take him. But he has struggled in Italy a little bit. He's got a couple of goals, but the injuries have been a problem for him this year. A move for Strand Larsen probably makes an awful lot more sense for Leeds at this point, and if they can get him over the likes of Nottingham Forest or West Ham United, it would be a real statement for Leeds United to take a player away from their relegation rivals. The issue for Leeds on all of these is going to be what cash is available, how much is he going to cost, what structure of deal can they put in place. Leeds would likely like loans with obligations or options at this point, which might work for Dovbyk but might not work particularly well for Wolverhampton Wanderers if they need cash in before the 30th of June PSR deadline. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's an interesting one, two strikers there. Let's talk about a deal that looks like it will be done, and that is Facundo Buonanotte to Leeds. Again, by the looks of things, this part is being recorded after the initial news was done. We were just editing it when this story came out, so if it's a bit janky, deal with it. we'll get stuck into this story. Facundo Buonanotte, according to Fabrizio Romano in an exclusive that's just come out right now, he says the Leeds United have a verbal agreement in place with Brighton to bring Facundo Buonanotte on loan to the Leeds until the end of the season. He says that the loan deal that is currently in place with Chelsea will be cancelled, and the player is then set to join Leeds United. The deal is a loan move and will be on loan until the end of the season, and Romano's exact tweet reads as follows. Exclusive, Leeds United reached verbal agreement to sign Facundo Buonanotte. Chelsea to interrupt loan move from Brighton, leaving CFC to return to BHAFC and then join Leeds. Move to LUFC will be on loan until the end of the season. Here we go. Soon. So we haven't got the final here we go from Romano, and given what happened in the summer with Buonanotte, I'd hold fire on this one until he's on a plane or in Thorpe Arch or having his medical. However, if you look at the Jack Harrison to Fiorentina situation, we said earlier this week, it seemed very unlikely that Daniel Farke would allow a player to move out on loan unless he was getting a player in a similar position in on loan. Buonanotte was a player the Leeds really wanted during the summer. He gives Daniel Farke that balance that he wants in a 4-3-3 should he decide to play that system. He can operate as a 10 as well, which would add more cover for Brendan Aronson in that position as well. It would be a good deal for Leeds. The loan hasn't really worked out at Chelsea. It always felt like an unusual one at the time, but he has scored goals for them this season. He has been decent when he has played, so we are getting a player in who is a creative player, who's an attack-minded player, and an interesting one. But as of right now, it looks like Facundo Buonanotte will be a Leeds United player. Right, back to the rest of the transfer rumours. This one's taken a bit of time to get finalised, but it was always going to be the case that once the player turned 18 years of age, Leeds would try and get this one done. Leeds have now signed Nigerian centre-half Leonard Ngenge from Nigerian Premier League side Ikadoru City. Ngenge spent time at Thorpe Arch last year. He was back there again this year on trial, and Leeds had a very good look at him, and they liked what they saw for a centre-back who at a very young age is a very big unit of a player. According to reports today, the player has now signed a pre-contract agreement with Leeds United, but due to youth rules between Africa and England, he couldn't sign any deals with Leeds until he turned 18, which he has now done, and he has signed a pre-contract agreement to join Leeds at the end of this season. Reports today saying Ngenge will join up with the side once his current contract expires at Ikorodu City, where he's been part of their first team this year, and he will likely, according to reports, join up with Leeds in and around August time as well. He is a big lad for his age, left-footed centre-half, and will likely join up with Leeds United's under-21s for next season to give them a little bit more depth there. They've been light in the centre-half positions this year, but he's, as I say, a player Leeds have had a really good look at, and they like him, so he's on his way to Leeds United now. Let's talk about a centre-half that might give Leeds a few quid this month. Leeds were hoping to bring in some money from their loan players that are out this summer in order to try and get some money in. They were hoping that some of these deals would be finalised or even brought forward to January to get some cash in for the January transfer window, but it looks like it's going to be a sell-on clause instead, where Leeds could get some money. When Leeds sold Charlie Cresswell 2 years ago to Toulouse, they put a 15% sell-on clause in his contract, and that might be right now what is about to bring in some money to Leeds. Cresswell has attracted plenty of interest since he's moved to Toulouse in France, and he currently boasts defensive statistics in the top 1% in League 1 this season. West Ham United tried to sign Cresswell during the summer. They tried again to sign him this month, money being an issue for them. But there was rumoured of other interest in the centre half. Reports in Germany today suggest that Wolfsburg are the latest club to make a move for the Toulouse and England under-21 player, with Sky Germany's Florian Plettenberg saying that Cresswell is a target of Wolfsburg, who have prioritised a centre-back this month. They've also been linked with Leeds United target Danilo Doekhi, but apparently, according to reports in Germany, Leeds are still the front runners on that one. Plettenberg goes on to say that concrete negotiations between Toulouse and Wolfsburg have taken place, and currently Toulouse are looking for €25 million, about £21.8 million for Cresswell. And with Leeds having 15% sell-on clause in that would give Leeds between £3.1 and £3.8 million, depending on adjustments, which is the same fee, £3.8 million that Leeds sold him for 2 years ago. So in total, Leeds could potentially bring in, between that sale and this sell on, £7.6 million for a player who is now valued at £21 million. I think we all said at the time, probably sold him a little bit too early, could have loaned him out for a year or two, let him get this experience, let him go on the shop window, let him play football, and then maybe bring in more money. But at this point, it looks like he will be moving on from Toulouse. He's been very good since he's gone down to France, and he will move on this month to somebody by the looks of things, and Leeds could bring in a few quid that might help with some incoming transfers this month. Let's get into the roundup of what's been said on the current deals that are floating around in Leeds so far this month. We're going to start off with Jack Harrison to Fiorentina. It was reported earlier this week, but we haven't heard anything to say that this deal has been finalised, and it's dragging out just a little bit at this point. Sky Italia are reporting that Leeds United and Fiorentina are working through issues related to the players' wages, and as we know, Jack Harrison is on a significant amount of money at Leeds. He's one of Leeds' highest paid players due to a contract he signed the year Leeds got relegated, thanks to Victor Orta on that one. But he is one of Leeds' highest paid players, and he's probably not interested in taking any kind of a pay cut at this point, being 29 years of age. The loan agreement is said, according to Sky Italia, to be in place. All agreed, no issues there. There's rumours of an obligation or an option, depending on what you read. Leeds would like an obligation of around €10 million, about £8 million. Fiorentina need to agree to a wage split in this situation, though their finances are not that big. Italy's quite tight on money. But Leeds will want as much of the wages taken off the books as they can possibly get to free up space for a potential loan incoming or a player to sign on a permanent basis and get some wages in there. So right now, they're still negotiating the final bits of the details on this. The money was always going to be a problem for Italy. I think Jack's on around about £90,000 a week, which is a huge amount of money in Italy. They don't have that kind of wages. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on it, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets done as soon as possible. Let's talk about Danilo Doekhi then. And the Athletic have now revealed the Leeds United are largely focused on attacking players this month. But sources have spoken to Baron Cross at the Athletic. They've asked to remain anonymous for relationship reasons. And they've said that Leeds United have evaluated and do admire Union Berlin centre-half Danilo Doekhi. But right now, there's no news on whether Leeds are going to make a move for him or not. The report says that Leeds would prefer a summer move for the player, sign a pre-contract agreement now and bring him in the summer on a free transfer and try and box a bit clever again coming into what will still be a tight window for Leeds next summer. Right now, all the reports say the same thing. It looks like Leeds want to try and do a pre-contract agreement. The player himself isn't overly keen on moving around Germany, with Wolfsburg interested in him, but the fact that they're looking at Charlie Cresswell means they've probably moved on from that one already. Leeds could be just lining up the targets. We've heard from Parag Marathi before, who says Leeds like to line up the targets about 6 months in advance, so maybe he's one for the summer. But if there is interest in him, it'll be a tricky one. There's half the window left. They can see it out, but doesn't give Leeds the cover they want right now. Sebastian Bornau is rumoured to be going nowhere at this point, so maybe they're happy with what they've got right there at the back. I would like one more centre half, but we'll have to keep an eye on it and wait and see. But right now, that's all of the news on Leeds transfers as of today. We'll have the reaction to Daniel Farke's press conference pre-Fulham over on bigup.com and a chance to join our predictions game there as well. And then back tonight for the podcast with the lads to look ahead to Fulham. Outside of that, folks, I will talk to you later. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya. Bye.